are holy. We are all individualized expression of that one God. And I am just so thankful that each and every one of us has come together this morning in our own individual ways to form this loving community. As I look out in the audience today, I see family. I see love. I see joy. And so we simply celebrate this day. We celebrate this time where we have this opportunity to come together and co-create love, not only here, but on our planet. Yes. Yeah. So I know that we simply bring this forward into the world, and I am just so grateful to have this opportunity to co-create a world that works for all people with every one of you. Thank you, God. And so it is.
And so it is.
And so, we are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. My candlelighter today is Miss Claire, the wonderful Miss Claire. And so now, let us begin the ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths come from that one universal principle, which we call spirit. And as I said, our candlelighter today is Claire. So we're going to start with the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous people, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the last candle is the healing candle of love. And I invite you, in the stillness of your own heart and mind, to bring to the awareness the names of anyone you wish to be included in this healing flame of love and light. And now that our candles are fully lighted, we move forward in our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Our sacred quote today is from Ernest Holmes, and I'm going to read it a couple of times. No person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. No person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. And so it is.
I love that.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Bob Corpin. I'm one of the many licensed practitioners here at our center. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So as you know, one of the cornerstones of the Centers for Spiritual Living is prayer. We love to pray. And so there are several ways that you can receive prayer. One, of course, is to tap one of the licensed practitioners on the shoulder after service, and we would be happy to pray for you. If there's something that you want to celebrate, we would be happy to celebrate with you. If there's something that's heavy on your heart, we can know the truth of the true circumstance. There are so many ways. So I would like my fellow practitioners to stand up, if they would, so you know who to tap. There's Stevie, of course, who's speaking today. Cynthia George, Reverend Don, Linda Steiner, and Robert Wallace, back holding the presence. So we're all available to pray with you after service. If that doesn't suit you, then we also have a written prayer request that you can find in the back of your chair. And if you just jot down what's heavy on your heart or what you would like to celebrate, drop it in the box in the back, and we'll pick those up and send them out, and we will be praying for you all week. And also, if that doesn't work for you, if you're online, you can also go to our website, and there's a place there that you can put in a prayer request. And so, if there's anyone here for the first time, I would like to welcome you with a gift packet. If you would be so bold to raise your hand, Cynthia will give you a gift packet. It's got what we believe and a few more gifts for you. And if you online would like one, you can also just put in the comment section down below, and we'll send you one out. Make sure you include your name and address.
Thanks, Bob. The moment today is simply that Ann and I are not going to be doing the Bible wisdom class. We couldn't get texts. It's out of print, and we have...
Bible is out of
Uh-oh. Anyway, there are the equivalent of tidal waves all over, and we have to search them and find good used copies. And I think we're up to 4 now. When we get about 12 of them, we'll be able to do the class. And we'll do it in the winter term. So it's exciting. And I've had a lot of fun working on it and putting it together. So no Bible wisdom now. Now it's being replaced by Linda Steiner and Judy doing something. It's a Jane Beach class. That's all I know.
Don, will yours be recorded so I can actually watch it online?
Well, no, you're just going to have to stay.
No, I gotta go.
No Bible wisdom, but we're going to have something even better. That's the moment. And now, Bob.
no pressure.
Thank you, Rev Don. So our speaker today, what can I say? Miss Stevie Leniear. I had the opportunity to spend 2.5 years training with this lady. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that she has a personal connection with Spirit, a very deep connection. And that Spirit flows through her easily and effortlessly. And I can say that she has used this power of hers to benefit not only her life, but the lives of so many others. She has 3 CDs out, and she's a boxer, so watch out. So you're in for a special...
Hello. And good morning. Thank you for such a beautiful set of songs this morning. How are we doing out there in the ethers? I really appreciate that you took the time to read that quote twice, Bob. It hit different each time, so thank you for that. Here and now, I misspelt it on purpose. So H-E-A-R, here and now. I want to start with another quote because this one really resonated with me. It's by Ray Orion. Time does not contain anything. Time is a numerical expression for a period between events. The past, present, and future are different concepts, but we only exist in the now. The past and the future do not really exist. Now this talk, it's been brewing for some time, ironic. And just within the last 24 hours, the amount of circumstances that have fed into examples of how this shows up for me in particular is just beyond me. So I wanted to originally take a little bit of a scientific approach to this, right? So we were on YouTube University, you know, got accolades from there, looking into like, okay, time, being present, right? We talk about being present in the now, and I feel like that's a huge portion of the concepts here at Alaska's for Spiritual Living. And so I was thinking like, okay, what does science say about time? Well, science says that time is basically a construct that is composed of three key elements: light, space, and speed. So we kind of measure how fast light travels, what speed light travels through space, and then we're able to come up with concepts of time. Now I'm like, okay, I learned about this as a kid. It seems simple, but the more we learn, the more it became super, super delicate and intricate and complicated. But when I took a step back, I was able to look at these three concepts of speed, space, and light, emphasizing the light. And wow, did I just have this perspective and these aha moments that clicked. How many times do the things that we hear or don't hear stop us from being present in the now? Yeah. I will say, even as we were doing our meditation, I'm sitting there, stomach starts growling, I'm hearing it out loud, taking me out of the present. And then I start to hear like a tiny little voice, like literally moments ago. I'm hearing like a tiny little voice, and I'm like, am I tripping right now? Because it was so quiet, but I thought I was hearing something. So I'm like nudging my boyfriend, like, is it your phone? And I see him adjusting his phone. And he's like, no, I think it's your phone, playing this game. I pull out my phone. There's a song playing very quietly. I didn't realize my phone was playing. And it's one of my own songs, my own voice playing, disrupting me from being present in the now. I got goosebumps. I have goosebumps. It's just an example of this whole concept. So I wanted to start a little bit talking about speed. Now, Einstein spoke a lot about time, and he's a genius. So me, as the level of intelligence I have, I was able to resonate with some of it, and some of it was so high level. But one thing that I kept thinking about is Einstein says that the faster we move through space, the slower we actually move through time. And I just went around circles with this concept over and over again. And so I don't know if I can completely make sense of it. But what I did continue to think of is, when does time feel like it slows down for me? And when does time seem like I can't get enough of it? It's moving so fast. And the more I looked to answer these questions, the more I thought about when I'm not present. Time seems to have no constraints. It seems to be fluid. And so I invite you to ask yourself about times when it does seem to slow down, right? Think of the last time you had an uncomfortable conversation. It felt like time was moving slow, huh? Like you just stuck in this conversation and you're getting nowhere. All of a sudden, time is going slow. Or last time you had to do a timed test. Maybe it felt like you were anxiety driven, right? You're thinking about results and you're just thinking now you don't have enough time, but it's still you not being present. Or maybe you're just zoning out thinking about all the stuff you studied and this and that, and you're taking the test and you feel like you've answered all your questions and you still have extra time, so now you're second guessing your questions. And once again, time, maybe not on your side, instead of just being present, trusting what you know, and being at peace with that. So yeah, I started thinking more about this Einstein quote. I'm like, okay, maybe he's got a little something here about how time seems to move faster or slower, even though it seems to be fixed. But the science says that time is actually not fixed. Hence, if you go to a different planet, the gravitational pull looks different, and then time is actually different. So I started to play around with that idea. Now, aside from thinking about time slowing down, I thought about times where a little bit of time, like robbing Peter to pay Paul. I love this concept. Peter and Paul. I don't know anybody by the names, but they seem to show up in my life constantly. This is how I think about robbing Peter to pay Paul when it comes to time. Our day starts off, right? Coffee machine, it spills over. Now, we don't got no coffee before we go to work. One moment, maybe it took 30 minutes that you were dealing with the cleanup. The rest of the day, what are you thinking about?
Coffee.
That coffee. And the mess at home that you might still have to go back to because you were rushing out. So here we have completely robbed ourselves of being present the entire day because of one thing that happened. Now, this is not the first time this idea has been thought about. But did it happen recently? Has it happened today even? the questions that I ask myself as I think about how do we become more present in the here and now. Now, on the opposite side, obviously, there's the idea of not ever having enough time, like time is moving so fast. And when you feel like you've got a busy to-do list, this is for me when time seems to just move incredibly fast. When I know that my week has got something on Monday, Tuesday, maybe not Wednesday yet, Thursday, Friday for sure. And it just feels like, dang, before I know it, it's already Wednesday and my to-do list has barely had any check marks. So here all of a sudden is me thinking about tomorrow and I've taken away today. So again, thinking about these concepts of time being manipulated based on what? What is the factor? It's us. It's I. It's my perspective. It's what I choose. And so I've been playing around with this. Well, sometimes it feels like I want to manipulate time and slow it down. But is it coming from the right place? And does it ever happen when I really want it to? And so the choice really just always beckons back to just be present in the here and the now. Now, speaking of here and now, obviously the other play on the term is here. And times that we don't maybe hear things that we want to hear, pending information in the future, waiting for news, and then therefore, again, we find ourselves stepping out of the here and now. Now, my friend, gave me permission to share this story. I don't know who this friend is. They're not in this room. Gave me permission to share this story. And it's about a great example of being here and now. Now, this friend of mine has been in this situation at work where they knew positions were going to be opening up. So a lot of people within the workplace were talking about applying for these positions, right? They know that they're going to start hiring for a specific title. So there's the anticipation waiting for the job posting. Now we're just waiting. Okay, you looking, I'm looking every day. Okay, I'm trying to apply. And just noticing how as this phase is happening, we're waiting for something at work, every day that's what we're focused on, taking ourselves completely out of the present again and again. So finally they get to the point where now the job has been posted, they've applied. Now I gotta wait for an interview, right? Again, waiting, and this literally just happened. And so as I'm experiencing and going through day to day with this person that I care about dearly and seeing how they're being pulled from being present. We could be dead conversation, and sometimes it's like, I'm there, and what you thinking about? Well, I got an email saying that we're still waiting, you know, and I get it, right? It's the things that are pressing. It affects our lives. It affects our livelihood. And so I get it. Then you get the interview. Awesome. Now what? You got to wait for them to make a decision. Playing the waiting game again, focusing on something that you haven't heard yet, waiting to hear the news. And this news that you're waiting on, this information that you feel like you are pending, now creating this time shift where we're not present. And I found that this was very interesting because have I gone through circumstances like this? Yeah, I'm probably in a situation right now where I'm waiting to hear some news that's got me somewhat distracted, right? Like we all have those kind of circumstances. But what really hit me was being able to observe it. Being able to observe it in somebody else, because it's so easy to not even realize when it's happening to us. But when I'm having conversations with them and they're not listening, it's easy for me to notice. You seem distracted. Oh, obviously, right? But how often am I checking myself when it comes time for me when I'm not fully present, and how that shows up for the people around me? Now, my second part of this is space. We talked a little bit about speed, how the speed of time seems to shift depending on where we're at mentally. And this story actually goes one level deeper, this here and now, this idea of this friend of mine who was pending information on, this is about a 3-4 week process, you know, between the job interview and the posting. And so, you know, this is quite a stretch of time to feel like kind of frozen, if I may. During this time, now you can call this coincidence if you like to, but during this time, my friend starts having issues with their ear. Fullness of the ear, irritation, swelling of the ear, to the point where all of a sudden now his ear is clogged. He can't even hear out of that ear that he's waiting to hear information for that maybe, and it's just that deeper level. So that brings me to perfect segue into space. Now, when I think about space as it pertains to us and this whole concept of time, it really is like our outer space, which is our environment, or our inner space, which is our physical selves. Now, we know a lot of Eastern medicine practices starting and triggering with the emotional state. They don't go always in for, oh, you got something wrong with your stomach, let's give you some nausea pills. It's a lot more like, is there an energy center here that we can address? Like, that's a lot of Eastern medicine. There's a lot of cultures that go that way. But there's something to be said about how our physical body will talk to us. Now, whether we listen, whether we can hear, that's the question. And so as I'm, again, peering as the outsider looking in, it's so much easier to see And I'm noticing how he's waiting to hear news and he can't hear. And now his ear is bothering him day and day. So now it's like, which one is taking you out of the present? But is it your body inviting you to come back? Is the ear telling you, if we didn't notice just as is, now the ear is saying, hey, I'm not hearing. So where am I not hearing? And that was really, really just a huge revelation for me. Now, as I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about just our physical bodies and the concept of, it's not always just about what you're hearing or not hearing that takes you out of the present, right? It's just an example. There are so many different things that can take us out of being present. I'm going to invite you actually right now to ask yourself how present you are. Now, maybe you're captivated by the speech, I don't know. Maybe you're super present, and if you're not, that's okay. Maybe 50% is all you have right now, and that's okay. But I notice for me, when I am not feeling grounded in the moment, when I'm not feeling fully engaged in whatever I'm doing, my body will tell me through my feet first, which is kind of funny because what else is on the ground all the time? My feet. This. If you can see my feet, this is what I do. I will be standing in the kitchen and I'm just leaning, I'm tilting. My foot is not fully actually anchored on this earth. I am half in. I might as well walk around like this. And it took me years until I even noticed it. And then I thought it was like, okay, now I see it like weird, just a small thing, but it's like, and it would be times where I'm zoning out and I don't even notice. And then my boyfriend at home was like, why are you doing that with your foot? And I was like, shoot, put my foot back down. And it was just my conscious reminder from my body telling me, hey, I'm not fully here right now. And it was everything. So I'm going to ask you to just take a moment, maybe close your eyes if it feels right, or just take a breath. Where is your body inviting you to recognize that you may or may not be fully present? Now, without judgment, there is no, oh my gosh, just notice. Maybe it's your shoulders. They start to raise, right? Now your shoulders are by your ears. You didn't even notice. Drop them. Maybe it's your jaw and you're clenching, just grinding at these thoughts that aren't serving you, and they're not even happening right now, but you're thinking about it, and you're just grinding gears. Relax the jaw. Maybe you're picking at your fingers. Somebody's doing it right now. And it's just always thinking, somebody's picking on you, you're thinking about whatever you gotta pick, whatever you gotta work, and then you just, again, are not here. So I just ask that you take that moment and thank your body, right? It's not to make us feel bad. It's not a guilt trip. It's just a messenger, a compass. So whatever that thing is that maybe you noticed in yourself, I want you to make a commitment today. Because right, it's great to talk about these things, but it's how do we move forward? How do we take the steps? I want you to make a commitment today that next time you do that thing, whether it's this, your shoulders are coming up, or honestly, I see sometimes I'm at home, I'm squeezing my booty cheeks. For what? I'm just clenched. Like, hey, I know it's not just me. I know it's not just me. You're going to be checking next time you're at home. You're just squeezed, you're tight, and you're not present. So I want you to make a commitment to yourself that when that thing happens, that clench of the jaw, that picking of the fingers, whatever it is, that you will just take a 3-second break. It's a very small fraction of your time, of your day, to give you a reset to invite yourself back into the here and now. Now, speaking of my foot, now I noticed that with or without injury, I do that thing, right? And like I noticed it a couple years ago. It's not 100% fixed. I still do it. So it's like, it's not necessarily going to go away. I'm not promising you anything. It's not necessarily going to go away, but at least it'll serve a purpose, right? Now, I had to look back at, again, this idea of like being present and being grounded in my body talking to me. And last year, I went through some of the most tumultuous times in my career in a long time. I had shifted into a new position. I haven't been boxing my whole life, even though I feel like I've been boxing my shadows my whole life. But going into that industry, it was different. And obviously, there's going to be dynamics of people, right? You think about work, and that can be a real easy way to find yourself either present or maybe for the sake of those around you, not present. I can't quite say. But I noticed I had been going through a dynamic with a person where it felt like at some point I was tiptoeing around her, constantly tiptoeing around her feelings, how she was going to perceive me. The more that I even tried to do something about it and assert myself, there was backlash. So then it was like, not only am I tiptoeing, I feel like I can't stand my ground. All of these things tying back to what? My foot. During this time, I ended up with a injury on my foot. I ended up with a blister that lasted about 8 months trying to heal. It was terrible. I'm going to just keep it real with you. It was terrible. And I'm teaching classes where I'm jumping up and down, and it was so much. And when I was in the moment and teaching classes, like with the shoes on, I was okay. But as soon as I was back to that point where life slowed down and I'm not in the adrenaline, I would feel that constant pain. It took so long for me to heal this. And you know how many times I went in, because I'm very much like holistic as long as I can be, right? I'm not going to the doctor unless my foot finna fall off. Yeah. So I'm at home doing what I can. I'm on YouTube University once again, doing what I can to try to heal. And I realized there was nothing I could do to physically treat this until I could get to the point where I was fully present in that situation, where I was fully able to be myself and speak my truth. Because as long as I was not being true to me, I was not being in the present moment. And that was something that was a huge revelation. And I'll be darned if by the time I finally had that conversation, right, that conversation that probably lasted an hour but felt like it lasted 4 hours with this lady, and we finally found a resolve. And it didn't happen overnight, but my healing started to happen. And I was guided to find the right doctor. Now, at this point, by the time that conversation happened, I had probably been to 3 different doctors trying to find some kind of, and everybody's like, you're doing what you can at home. Like, that's exactly how we would treat you. You're doing the right thing. And I'm like, well, it's getting me nowhere, doc. So, but when that healing happened on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, on a non-physical level, then I was guided, and again, coincidence maybe, but to the right doctor that was able to give me the right treatment at the right time, and the healing started physically the same time that it started to happen non-physically. Miracle. And I'm so grateful. And I'm still having to remind myself that my foot is good and that I'm safe, and that I can plant my feet here and be fully present. Times where you just find yourself not even realizing you're not fully present. Ran to the grocery store the other day, and like, we had already started dinner. I realized we're missing a key ingredient. So now, of course, I'm thinking about dinner. I'm not thinking about here and now. I'm thinking about dinner. I run to the grocery store, and I'm not being present. You know, there's a cashier I'm dealing with. There's people around me, and I'm just so distracted by everything I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to make moves. And I noticed the cashier was very soft-spoken, and I just go back to what I'm doing, unloading my cart. And I think I started unloading it, and he rearranged where I was loading the groceries. And I'm just thinking oh, so I kind of backed off a little bit. And he's like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. And if I would have still been in that busy, and that's exactly what I needed to hear. When I say him telling me, hey, you did nothing wrong, it didn't even speak to that moment. My whole week this week has been moments where I'm having to not allow myself to be tainted by how other people may accuse me of being something I am or am not. So this idea of you're doing nothing wrong. And if I would have just been so consumed by the things around me and didn't stop to be present in that moment, I wouldn't have heard the voice of an angel at the grocery store, the ghetto cars, by the way, say, yeah, I know, it puts it in perspective. Just saying, you did nothing wrong. And literally, I didn't, right? I was just unloading my groceries, but it was so much deeper than that. So the gift of actually practicing being present. Like I said, the examples kept showing up, and I'm like, how do I keep this speech on track when I have all these tangent stories, but they all speak to the same theme? Now, the final concept is light, right? We talked a little about speed. We got to talk about our physical space, our bodies, and how they talk to us. Now, I was like, well, I can just end on light because we all get it, right? We're here for the light. We are the light. We understand how much that is the concrete behind everything we do. It is the foundation of our basis of what we believe. But I'm like, I'm not going to cut that short because that's the fun part. That's the motivation. That's the inspiration here. And so to think that light is a huge part of the scientific term of time and how they have really recognized that space can change, right? Space is not a construct that is unmalleable. Space is always moving. We know that time, obviously, we see that it can speed up and slow down, but light was the constant. Light always travels at the same speed is what they say. Now check me if I'm wrong. Again, I've been doing a lot of research the last couple of days. But when I was going through this research and seeing that all of the education had said that light is the constant, and what do we preach here? That light is the constant. And so as I was thinking about the how, right, now I can recognize the ways that I may be pulling myself out of being present here and now, whether I'm hearing what I want to hear, whether it's a matter of just being distracted, that light is the anchor. Light is the concept that is going to allow me to constantly come back. And so I just thought about it, and I'm like, okay, how do I take a step back and find the light, even when it feels dark? Because that was really the question. Like when things are great, it's easy to see the light. When the sun is shining, of course you see it. But when the clouds are there, do we always recognize that the sun is still there? And so I continue to ask myself, how do I continue to see the light? And I think it came back to realizing that even the darkness is the light. We measure darkness by how much light there is, meaning that it still has to be one of this light. I was here for Kaleem's speech a couple of weeks ago, and it was so brilliant, the way he tied the 3 R's of education into our 3 R's here. And it got a little confusing with the R's, right? Because they're kind of similar. Got a little confusing. I was in there like, recognition, no, realization. But really, they're one in one. They go hand in hand. And that's where it starts. Our entire treatment when it comes to prayer, when it comes to moving the needle, changing our thinking and changing our life, it starts with recognizing. And what are we recognizing? The light. The light that is. And whether that light to you is spirit or God or source or Mother Earth, whatever it is that light. It is that constant when everything else is always changing. And so in times where maybe you notice your shoulders are doing that thing again, you're squeezing and you're clenching a little bit again, I'm going to invite you to find an opportunity to see the light. To see the light in yourself, because underneath it all, like, you probably didn't do anything wrong. Because we are all innocent children of God at the end of the day. Seeing the light in others, because they're also within that scope. And being able to understand that we are all one. And so times where I can practice the light a little bit more easier, yeah, it's awesome. But it's the times where you have to become the light, where you have to see it. That, I think, is what our purpose is on the planet at this time. So obviously a few things that I like to do to recognize the light, to cultivate the light, to burn that candle internally for myself. Breath work, noticing your breathing. Speaking of that physical response, I notice, again, after probably being on this earth for 25 years, I would physically hold my breath when I was not being present. I would actually hold my breath. And then eventually, you start to feel a little pain in your chest. Oh, and here I am, here and now again. So using breath work to get centered, to be here, to be now. We just went to Thunderbird the other day, and it was just such a magnificent trail. And, you know, it's like when you're out in nature and there's so much stimuli, right? There's colors, there's noises, but you are practicing observing. So even though it might still seem a little distracting, you're practicing that divine essence of being one with those elements. So get outside, y'all. It's going to get cold soon. If you're thinking about doing it, please do it. Absolutely, please do it. And now you have a great reason, because Bob, going back for that spiritual striders. I love that. Also this week I had a chance to lead a guided meditation. And it was in a business setting, which was something that I've never done before. And also to see how no matter what walk of life, if you just give people a genuine invitation to shut everything else off and just be here, it was a divine and ultimate yes from everybody. So again, my key takeaways today as we think about time, space, light, speed. Well, A, you're not always going to be able to control the speed of the things around you. So maybe focus on the speed of your thoughts, the direction of your thoughts. Taking that time to realize that, yeah, we can't necessarily make time slow down or speed up, but we can realize that, again, as Einstein said, the only thing that is actually real is now. The dedication to our space, to our internal space, to listening to our body when it speaks to us, to taking those gentle reminders to be present. It's going to look different on all of us. And then lastly, finding ways to cultivate the light, to curate that light in your own lives, whatever that looks like, but having a practice, right? We are physical beings doing physical things. So if we don't have a practice that is physical in nature, how do we get to recalibrate when it's time? So with those 3 things in mind, I'm going to invite my colleagues to help me anchor in this space as we really bring in this light. As we bring in this knowingness, with no rush, with no preconceived of what it should be, what it was in the past, just being present, recognizing that that light was here at the beginning of time, and it will be here through the end of time. It knows no time. That light is bigger than all of us, and yet it encompasses and breathes through each and every one of us at the divine timing, where it is the most secure, the most important, the most pertinent. And so as we recognize this grand light, like pebbles on a beach, like stars in the sky, it is so infinite, it is so beyond us, and yet we can admire it, and we can know that those truths, those are the truths of us. Because if it is spirit showing these characteristics, then it too must be my divine nature to show the patience to those around me and to myself. To be able to move through this earth in a speed that says, yes, I am fully here, committed to living life to the fullest, because as I say yes to embodying that of which spirit is supposed to be in me, I give others permission to embody that light for themselves. Knowing that there is a divine connection, and no matter what things appear to be on the surface, no matter what things appear to be in this temporary time, that the truth underneath it all is infinite, that love is infinite, that peace, that life force energy, see, it can never be destroyed. It can only ever be transferred. Science says that. Spirit says that. And so as I speak this truth for myself, I speak this truth no matter what the circumstances, that financial, it could be interpersonal, it could be health-wise. That light penetrates through all of those things. And so with that, I can just give thanks. Breathing gratitude into this present moment. Giving thanks for my awareness that when my body speaks, I can listen. That when the world speaks, I can listen. And that I can let go of anything that does not serve me, because there is an infinite truth beneath it all. And so with that deep gratitude, we just show love for that which is. We release that which is not. Allowing this knowingness to just penetrate deeply and allowing everything else to fade into the background like the leaves falling from the trees, because it is that time. And so we just let it be. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you.
You will
call you?
Hello. Now is our time in the service where we get to do one of those amazing things. See what I did there? We get to practice the law of circulation. Yes. We know that what we give to ourselves, Spirit gives back to us to the tenfold. So, thank you, Cynthia, for being on top of it. She will come around with the goodies. But I invite you to go ahead and join me in this affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
And open your heart and simply know that in this now moment, we are at choice as how we want to focus our attention. And so as we focus our attention on that intention to be the greatest loving presence possible, I am just so thankful to know that God supports us in all that we do. We simply realize and recognize that everything that is happening for us, that God is in, through, and as all things. So we simply focus on that beautiful light that lives within us. We cultivate that light. We enhance that light. We allow that light to flow in, through, and around every part of us. And as we go out into this world, we share that light with all those that we come into contact with. We are the light that changes the world. And for this awareness, I am so thankful. And I am so thankful for each and every person here who has chosen to say yes to that light. Thank you, God. And so it is. Our affirmation for today: I am the light that changes the world. That changes the world.